to start off, we have three topics that we're going to touch on today's show. The first one's going to be Dak Prescott's contract. We know that's been a conversation that's been going on for about 2 years now. And then I want to talk about the All-Star break as well. Does the NBA need to change anything about making it more competitive? We could talk about the dunk contest a little bit, and then we'll talk about a little baseball. Are fans overreacting to some spring training games? But to start off, let's talk about Dak Prescott's contract. Dak Prescott's contract is 4 years, $160 million, $126 million guaranteed, which is the most in the history of the NFL. Is this a win-win for the Cowboys and Prescott, or is really Dak Prescott just running away with money? Declan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I thought this was a crazy deal, first of all. Pretty unprecedented in terms of guaranteed money. Listen, I'm a Dak fan. I think he's a top 10 quarterback when healthy. He was probably top 5 by the time he got injured, but then he got passed by a couple guys. This is a crazy deal. I think that they overpaid, but I understand why they did it. This is a team, Jerry Jones, he doesn't believe in the rebuild. It's like the Yankees, except minus a success in this century, to be quite frank. Sorry, Kamish. But here's the deal. They overpaid for him, right? But like I said, I see why. Because they think their window to win is now. They have a 4-year window to win. And after the 4 years, if they think he didn't perform to the contract that he was given, they'll reassess. So that's kind of where I stand with it now. I'm not mad about it. Listen, I'm a Giants fan, so in a way I'm kind of happy about it because I think it definitely hurts them from getting some free agents while it is somewhat of a cap-friendly deal in terms of signing bonus. I don't love it at all, but I'm not mad about it. I could go either way if I'm on both sides of the equation.
Chuck?
Listen, I'm happy Dak got his money. I'm never going to fault the player for going out, maximizing his value. Do I think he's worth $40 million? Absolutely not. Brennan, I think we talked about this maybe not even a year ago, maybe less than that. Dak is not worth $40 million. I don't care what he's done on the field. He's not a Super Bowl winner. He's never even been to a Super Bowl. He's not worth $40 million. I think his max value is probably maybe 35, considering how inflated quarterback contracts are. But like Declan said, I understand why they made the deal. The Cowboys didn't have leverage, especially once he got hurt. And I think the biggest attribute that Dak has, which teams look for in a quarterback, is leadership. Dak is a captain. In that locker room, the team gravitates towards him. And you saw when he got injured, how, everyone just ran to his side. So that shows you the type of quarterback that he has. And also going off what Declan said about not rebuilding, the Cowboys didn't sign him. What was their plan B? To go and get Russ, who was only on the contract for a couple more years? I think with having Zeke paid, having Cooper paid, having the offensive line and everything, I think the Cowboys are a win-now team, and that's why they went with Dak. And if they were going to let Dak walk, then they probably would have had to blow the whole thing up because they would have had a highly paid running back, which doesn't work well. And the Giants are going to face that dilemma in the next year or two with Saquon. So listen, they're all in, and we'll see what happens. They got to fix up their defense, a couple of holes on their interior offensive line. Let's see what Jerry could do.
So both of you are right, but wrong in a sense. You guys are Dak Prescott. There's never been a day in his life he's a top 5 quarterback. Never a day in his life. That's number one. Number two, you are right in terms of the Cowboys kind of had to do this, but it's not the reasons you said. They had to do this because it's so hard to find yourself a legit starter caliber quarterback who can be a franchise quarterback in this league. They don't come off on trees. You can't go get them at Walmart. It's hard to find those guys. And Dak Prescott is a mediocre to good quarterback. At best, you could call him good. He is far from a superstar. But in terms of winning, this is no correlation to them winning championships. This correlates them to being relevant for the media throughout the regular season and could get them an NFC East division title and a wild card exit. That is their ceiling before this contract and certainly after this contract. They're going to be missing out on about 6 free agents that they could get. Prescott's going to be taking up about probably 30% of this team's cap space, and he is not a superstar. Nowhere close to a superstar. Other quarterbacks have had similar contracts to this who are similar caliber quarterbacks to Prescott, and look how it worked. Kirk Cousins, how'd that work out? Jared Goff, how'd that work out? How about Matt Stafford? How'd that work out? Oh, what about Carson Wentz? How'd that work out? Those guys are getting paid like superstars, but are not superstars. The quarterbacks who deserve this kind of money to take up 25 to 30% of your cap space are the Patrick Mahomes of the world. a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. Guys like that, you pay this much. But I guess this is just the era of football where quarterbacks are, if you are that you show that you can be a starter caliber quarterback in this league, you're going to get your money. And I'm happy for Prescott that he got this deal, especially after that devastating injury. It looked like we didn't know if he would ever play football again. I'm so happy that he actually got it. But in terms of winning, it's not going to make them win anymore because they're just going to be irrelevant. I understand Jerry Jones's philosophy in terms of no rebuilding, which I agree with what you said in terms of it's like the Yankees. They don't believe in rebuild, just like there's not the success that the Yankees had. I could see that, but all they are is a mediocre football team now with Prescott. That's all I have to say for that.
I'll say that they're a mediocre team, but if you're going to say if he's not a top 5 quarterback a day in his life, that's not something I'm going to get mad about. I think that's fine. He's had moments, stretches where he was one of the best quarterbacks in football. Listen, I've been a Dak hater a while. Past couple of years, I've came around and I'm starting to see that he can be a good player. But who are you taking next season over Dak? If you want to go around the horn, that's fine. I mean, that's obviously fun. It's totally up to you. But like, can you give me 10? Do you think he's a top 10 quarterback?
Hold on. Let me pull up teams, and I could definitely think of 10 quarterbacks that I would take over than him right now for 1 year. Right? Josh Allen, 100%.
Agreed.
There's a lot of close ones, like a Philip Rivers, a Ryan Tannehill, Deshaun Watson. Those three.
Philip Rivers is retired, so I think he's out of this.
Obviously, Patrick Mahomes. Derek Carr's like one that
no.
It's
very.
There's a lot of like I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, of course. Matt Stafford. It would say Drew Brees. You could say Tom Brady. You could say Matt Ryan. You could say Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. And this is where the stat geeks are wrong because they could look at Dak's numbers and be like, yo, leads the league in yards almost every year, close to 5,000 yards. Yeah, because when they're getting blown out, the brakes beat off them for 3 straight quarters, Dak all of a sudden wakes up when you're down 20 points and then makes the game interesting, and they usually still lose, but his numbers look sick. Defense
was bad earlier in the year, especially in the first 3 games that they played. But like the guys I would take over Dak right now are Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Tom Brady. Then we start to kind of
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, obviously. Russell Wilson's 6. And then I kind of put Dak somewhere in there. Like I think Justin Herbert is possibly better at this point. Herbert had a great rookie year. I'd like to see more than 1 year, considering he is a rookie, but I think he's going to be great in the long run. Right now, that's 6. Like
Lamar Jackson.
I don't take Lamar Jackson over Dak Prescott. I don't take Baker Mayfield over Dak Prescott either. So, and I think those are fringe top 10s. Kyler Murray, I don't take either. He's also a fringe top 10. I'm a fan of Kyler Murray, but I don't take him. Jared Goff, no way. Stafford, no, although he's got the arm talent. So, I mean, those are guys on the borderline top 10 that I don't have over Dak right now. Unless I'm forgetting a major name, which I don't think I like. No, not Roethlisberger. Joe Burrow came off an injury.
Ryan Tannehill still had his number.
Ryan Tannehill is a top 10 quarterback, but I don't put him above Dak.
Tannehill, I kind of could see why to put over Prescott because Tannehill, which I've said, I'm going to back up my take. I said he's a product of Derrick Henry. I always believe in that because in the playoff game, it really proved when Derrick Henry had the worst game of his career, Tannehill was nowhere to be found. But when Derrick Henry is running through every defense, then Tannehill looks like an MVP caliber quarterback. So
yeah,
I could understand you saying that, but I still even a top 10 quarterback, like if you're the 10th best quarterback in this league, it's just he's not a superstar. It's not even about who's better than him. It's just about how great he is, and he's not that great. He's good. And I believe that a good quarterback can win you championships if your team around you is built the right way. But him getting paid like a superstar and taking up that much cap space, he's not that dude at all and not even close.
I don't think he's worth that money, but I think he's an above average, very good quarterback. He's had elite moments.
But when you look at it like this, ready? In the NFC East, Dak is by far the best quarterback in the division. And that's what the Cowboys look at.
That's not saying much.
No, I know. But think about it. With Dak, they're the favorites. Coming into last year, the Cowboys were the favorites to win the division. Going into next year, I know we still got free agency and everything, but as of today, the Cowboys are still the favorite to win the division. And that's what they're going to capitalize on just to get to the postseason. That's all you gotta do is just win the division. And if 6-10, 7-9 wins you the division, Dak could easily do that. That's why they call him Mr. 8-8. You know, everybody's saying, "Oh, haha, the Cowboys paid $40 million just to go 8-8." But guess what? 8-8 probably wins you the division. And all you gotta do is just get into the postseason. And then who knows what could happen? But the Cowboys are probably just trying to make most of their opportunity, and they have no leverage with this situation. Remember, they tagged Dak last year because they didn't want to, pay him that big of a contract. They wanted to give him the 5 years, but Dak only wanted 4. So they ran out of, their own. They put themselves in a hole. He got injured, and there was no way out. So they had to meet his demands, and that's what it basically came down to. Do I agree that they should have went out and given him $40 million, considering, their defense is probably putrid? Not really, but. So they add Dak. If they could hit on that's going to be the key. If they could hit on a corner or two in the draft, maybe another linebacker, an edge guy, and definitely an interior offensive lineman, then they're going to win the division easily. But they got to have a good draft and reallocate their money, in a way in which they kind of did by converting the first year of his contract to a big signing bonus and whatnot. So it's not that big of a cap hit for next year. That's what they got to do. Now's going to come to work where Jerry and his son got to make the magic and hit on these picks, because if they don't, then the team is just going to be another, 4-12, 5-11 team.
I think you're right in terms of that the Cowboys had no leverage. They had to do it. They have no choice. You can't let them just walk away, because then you're a bottom-dwelling 3-13, 4-12 team without Prescott. With Andy Dalton under center, whoever else they had as quarterback to replace him, they don't have anyone. Franchise quarterbacks don't grow in trees. You can't just go in the draft and just say, all right, I'm going to get a quarterback in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round or whatever. It's hard to really find him. They found this guy in the 4th round of the draft. And with that being said, he's proven to be a good quarterback. He's had his good moments. He's thrown for a bunch of yards. And it just keeps them relevant and keeps them all they're doing is keeping themselves relevant. But in reality, they shouldn't be getting paid this much. But in this type of era of football, quarterbacks have so much power that they're just able to have the power to get from the front office to get these type of contracts, because they know how valuable they are to their team, and their team can't go without them. It's the same thing. This is a similar situation. These the Kirk Cousins, the Jared Goffs, Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott's, all of them getting these contracts. I look at this as similar to NBA players who are borderline all-stars getting these max deals in small markets. Right then and there, when you're paying those, the Chris Middletons of the world, I think his contract's the best example. 2-time all-star. He's made the all-star team in the Eastern Conference, and he got paid that 5-year max deal. The reason why the Bucks had to do that, because they had no choice. Chris Middleton had the power over the front office to get that deal done. The Bucks can't go without just letting him walk, because a city like Milwaukee is not going to attract any free agents. And when you have an all-star caliber player who has been to the all-NBA teams, who's eligible for the max deal, you have to give it to him, because it's just going to make your team significantly worse without him. The Bucks need him, but that's not a legit number 2 option. That's not a guy you want to be a Robin. So I think this Dak Prescott contract is very similar to the Bucks signing a Chris Middleton. But you see those teams who do overpay guys, even in the NBA, they don't win championships. The greatest franchises in the world, the Lakers, the Celtics, they don't overpay guys. They don't give guys max deals who aren't worth it. Like the Lakers last year, who won the title. LeBron was on a max deal. AD was on a max deal, of course. Those are legit max players because they are superstars. Chris Middleton is far from a superstar, and I don't even call him a star in the league. He's just made the all-star team because the Eastern Conference is so bad. He's not an all-star in the Western Conference. I don't think he at all is a top 25 player in the league. But the Bucks had to pay him to keep them competitive and keep their slim title hopes alive. So I compare this contract to something like Chris Middleton. What do you think about that?
I mean, you can't really compare it to the NBA because the NBA is not, cap-wise, they're not the same as the NFL. The NBA, you see, guys like Andre Drummond being brought out for whatever reason, and now he's going to go sign with the Nets and get what, like 500,000? That's why I don't really like the NBA, because you got like Tyler Johnson, how many years ago, he got like 20 million a year or whatever, and just be a bench player. It just doesn't make sense. But I think it's different because in the NBA, you only have 12 players. So you can go out and make those mistakes and give out, max contracts to whoever and whatnot. But in the NFL, you really can't do that because once you give out that bad contract, it hurts your team. And Brandon, you mentioned it at the very top. Look at Wentz, look at Stafford, look at Goff, look at all these teams that handed out these big, $1 million contracts. Garoppolo even got a big contract. And what did he do? He was Tom Brady's backup for the first, couple of years of his career. You can't do that in the NFL. You can't be making these mistakes and paying these, non-superstars, that money, especially at the most important position. But I think Dak was deserving of a big contract because he has shown flashes, but I just think he got overpaid in the amount that he got. If he would have got, let's say somewhere between 30 to 35, I think we would all be fine with it and say, that's a great deal for both sides. That was great what they did, but, they went above and beyond to give him, the extra $5 million.
I totally agree with you, Chuck. I think that I would have no problem if they gave him 30, 35. That would not be getting overpaid. I do think they overpaid for him, but I'm not going to, kind of sit here for the slander like he's Chris Middleton, like a fringe, all-star, not even the Batman on the team. He's the Robin. He's not Chris Middleton. No, he's not. First of all, Zeke's not Giannis. There's no way about it. I don't know. Nobody on that team is Giannis. The MVP of the Cowboys is Dak Prescott, and it showed this year because they needed him more than anything. And Zeke, no disrespect to Zeke, because I'm not really here for the Zeke slander with that offensive line, but he's not more valuable to that team than Dak is. I mean, Dak is a top 10 quarterback. He's honestly on the upper side of the 5 to 10 spectrum, is at least where I have him ranked. So I'm not here for the slander.
I'm not saying that in terms of the value to his team. It's just his greatness at his position, like what Middleton is in the NBA. That's how I just look at Dak. Dak is not a Pro Bowl. I don't think he's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. He's not a superstar. He's not a star. He's a good quarterback. Chris Middleton is a good player. Those guys are both getting overpaid. That's why I compare it. That.
I would say Dak's a Pro Bowl caliber though, especially considering if I have him 7th or 8th in the league at the quarterback position, and 6 guys go to the Pro Bowl, I would say he's on the fringe of a Pro Bowl. It's tough to make the Pro Bowl as a quarterback unless the 2 of the top 5 guys are in the Super Bowl.
Let's call a spade here. Dak Prescott is as relevant in the league as he is because he plays on the Dallas Cowboys. That's a fact. That's a fact.
But he's also played really well at times. I'm not saying he's this great quarterback. He's not Deshaun Watson. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Not Rodgers, not Brady. But I don't think he deserves $40 million a year. 30 to 35 would have been fine. They overpaid for him a little bit. I think everyone has agreed on that. At least everybody on this panel has agreed on that. But the idea that you can't win with Dak, that Dak's not going to, produce. He's capable, and I know this might even sound crazy, he's capable of having a top 5 season. We saw it in 2019. We did. He had a top 5 season. It doesn't mean he's a top 5 quarterback. We didn't see enough flashes to solidify that position for him. But we've seen him play like he's a top quarterback in this league, and I think that's what he was building off of when he asked to get paid Mahomes money, which is absurd, but kind of happened.
Before we move on to speak about Dak's greatness, Dak is really great when his team's down 30 points in garbage time in the fourth quarter. That's when he's really great. But that's going to wrap up the NFL for today. I want to talk about the NBA a little bit. The NBA in their All-Star weekend, we saw in the beginning of that game, there was literally no defense. The dunk contest wasn't that all excited. And I just want to ask, does the NBA need to change the way they approach All-Star Weekend? The skills competition was all right. I thought the three-point contest was pretty exciting. But in terms of the game, wasn't really exciting until the fourth quarter. The teams were so lopsided to begin with. And the no defense, I understand that Dame and Steph pulling up for half court is great. That was exciting. But there needs to be more effort and make it more competitive. What do you guys think about that, or should they just leave it as is?
I think they got to bring stars back to the dunk contest first and foremost. We saw 3 rookies. Cassius Stanley is playing in the G League. To the common fan, nobody's really going to know who he is. We need to bring stars back. We want to see LeBron in the dunk contest. We want to see Zach LaVine back in the dunk contest. I don't want to sit there and watch Cassius Stanley, Simon, whatever his name was, and Obi Toppin. That doesn't interest me. And I think what's really hurting, especially in the dunk contest, is social media, because the dunks that we see these players do during the dunk contest, we've seen already on social media being performed by others. So it doesn't have that whoa factor anymore. So I think it's getting harder for these guys to come up with unique dunks that we've never seen before that would take us out of our seat. Now, the dunks that they did on Sunday, we've seen that already. But going back to what Zach LaVine did, like you had Aaron Gordon, put the ball underneath his legs. He was almost like sitting in the air. Like that's unbelievable. So I think we need to put stars in the dunk contest where even, the common fan could relate to these guys and bring more attention to it. And I think they got to come up with more unique dunks. I'm sick of seeing, guys dunk over two people. How many times are we going to watch that? How many times are we going to watch guys, go between the legs or jump from the free throw line like they're Michael Jordan or throw it off the backboard? I think they got to use more creativity, bring props. I think props would be great. Aaron Gordon brought out, the Magic mascot. And I keep referring to the LaVine Gordon one because, that's what's most memorable because we saw dunks that were never seen before. Everyone went nuts. And then for the All-Star game, I don't think they could ever fix that. I do like the new rules where for the first 3 quarters they play timed and the last one they play to a certain point. I think that keeps it competitive. But like we saw Sunday, Curry and Dame are throwing it up from almost half court, and yeah, that's cool. We like that because they could shoot because they could shoot the lights out of the gym. But I mean, okay. I mean, we see that during the game. Guys just walk down the court, throw up threes. I kind of want to see defense a little bit. You want to see these guys. You want to see the best of the best go head to head. You know what I mean? You want to see Durant, posting up LeBron on the low block and see, what happens. Or you want to see, Giannis and Kawhi go at it. I think that's what we got to bring back, like guys that want to play the game, are fully into it, defense at both ends, and maybe put a little incentive for these guys to make them go out there and really, put their heart and soul into the game.
Yeah. Listen, All-Star Weekend, I'm not going to sit here. It was lame, but I'm not going to sit here and criticize it that much considering, with everything, they had the one-day shortened thing because of COVID, and they decided that they were going to go, all right, play the All-Star game play the dunk contest at halftime. But as far as defense goes in All-Star games, with the exception of baseball, which I think is totally different considering the defense controls the ball, there will never be defense in All-Star games. Like the NBA, you'll see the score in the 170s, 180s. No one's going to try to play defense. And in football, it's a glorified touch game. It looked like a 7-on-7 from the Y down on the East River. They never play defense in football. They don't play defense in basketball. You'll see maybe a couple nice blocks, and that's it. It's all about threes, some alley-oops. Back when Blake Griffin could jump, no disrespect to the Nets fans, he would do that in the All-Star game. It's just – there's really not much to do. I think Chuck's right. You're not going to fix the game itself. The dunk contest, I remember they had the one year they did a team of 4, and they had Paul George, John Wall. They were hitting a Dougie after a dunk. That's what people want to see. And the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk contest was so powerful that Zach LaVine had one of the best dunk contest performances ever, and people still thought Aaron Gordon got robbed. People were so invested in that. And that was only 5 years ago. I think that was when the All-Star game was in Brooklyn and MSG. So that was in New York. That's kind of all I got to say about the All-Star weekend. I don't really think that there's much to do with the actual game. But they can make the dunk contest. 3-point contest was exciting. It came down to the money ball, and still I felt like nobody cared. So that's just kind of where I stand with it.
Well, first of all, I want to shout out Chuck for shouting me out, saying my dunk last week in the Sports Hit List group was more exciting than the dunk contest. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. I agree that there needs to be more props in the NBA dunk contest because all these guys could jump just as high as every single one of them. And we need some creativity, and the props make the dunks exciting. Not that they're necessarily harder, but it's just still more exciting to see creativity. That's all I got to say in the dunk contest, but I want to really touch on the All-Star game. You both are wrong that they can never change the way the game is played to make it more competitive. The NBA is a star-powered league. It's all about the players. It's very star-struck. The superstars are what makes this league more than any other sport. With that being said, the NBA can fix this problem, and it's really simple. We want to see stars go head-to-head on the biggest stage. And as much as stars are involved in this sport, there's nothing more exciting to see the best players in the league, like the top 10 players, all on the same court playing each other and seeing who could win. Not necessarily it would be the top 10 players, but it's a very simple solution how to get this game competitive. Like the MLB used to do. Team who wins gets home field advantage. Get rid of the draft. I understand the draft was exciting when they first came out with it because it was something different. Go back to the Western Conference versus the Eastern Conference. Whoever wins this game gets home court advantage in the NBA Finals. Watch how hard they play. Watch how much that means to them. Because these players, these superstars, their legacies are on the line. And if they get an advantage, whether they aren't necessarily in position to have a better seed than a team in another conference, then that game will be competitive. Trust me, it will be competitive. That is a simple solution. I would love that idea. Because as fans, we deserve to see the best players in the world go head-to-head and in a competitive game. Sure, the half-court shots are cool and all that. The alley-oops and the dunks are cool. I get it. But you want that game competitive? Western Conference versus Eastern Conference. Whoever wins gets home court advantage in the NBA Finals. Trust me, it will be competitive.
That was such a stupid rule in the MLB, though. Because that would, like, I don't know, man. I like, you're totally right. That would make them play hard. But, like, you don't think LeBron would be sobbing to Adam Silver if they did that? Like, the players would not go for it, first of all. Because, let's be honest, it's a player-run league now. And second of all, when they did it in the MLB, people were so mad about it. They thought it was so stupid. They thought the All-Star game should really have no reason, and then no reason to impact, the World Series, like the biggest game in sports. Just because guys who are like in the NBA, like somebody on the Minnesota Timberwolves, like Cat's gonna play his ass off because the Lakers might get home field advantage. Like, no, I don't know. Like, they're not going to do that in the NBA, and even if they did, it would just be stupid. That said, it would make them play hard, and if that's the route you want to go to, then fine. But in the MLB, they still play hard. Like, how come they still do that? Like, they still play hard. It's more fun. It's loose, but they still, like, you still see, like, pitchers throwing 99. Like it's baseball. Maybe that's just because baseball is a different sport, but I don't know.
Football is a sport that you're never going to be able to really figure that one out in terms, because it's just how violent the sport is and how injuries come across it. There's really no way that the NFL could fix the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl, it is what it is. Baseball is different, and I love that rule. It just adds more spice to the game because you only get so many at-bats. Like, you're going to still take your at-bat seriously. It's not going to make or break you in terms of your season or risk injury or tire you out more. It's an at-bat. And as a pitcher, if I throw 99 on Tuesday, I'm going to throw 99 on Saturday. So, that part doesn't matter about it. But the NBA, defense is all about effort. The only way to get defense involved is have them play for something. The charity money, that's great, and they should keep that. It's not enough. If they have the home court advantage, the stars will show out, and the best players who are in title contention, which, again, you can look at the Eastern Conference, assuming all health. You could have a starting lineup of the Nets' big three, Giannis, and Embiid. All three of those have a chance to be in the NBA Finals this year. So right then and there, you have 5 guys who are going all out. And then you have the Western Conference. If AD was healthy, you have LeBron, AD, you have Kawhi, and then that's already 3 guys in your starting lineup who have title aspirations to get that home court advantage. It's just extra spice for the fans, and it doesn't necessarily mean that because a team in the Eastern Conference has a better record than the Western Conference, they were better when they're playing entirely different teams all year long. So this would be a perfect opportunity to make the game competitive, go Western Conference or Eastern Conference, and we could see the best players in the world going head-to-head and going at it. That's what I love about it.
What if one of them goes out and breaks their leg in the All-Star game?
That's life. It's unfortunate. My condolences will go out to them. I feel bad. I wish there was speedy recovery, but that's just a part of basketball. That's a part of the sport. That's just a part of sports. You can get hurt any game. Just because they're playing lax defense doesn't mean you can't get injured. All it takes is one little step to pop your Achilles or your ACL or something amongst those lines. That could happen in practice. That could happen in a game. Just because it's an all-star game, they're still choosing to play.
How would that look if that's an all-star game and a guy goes down and tears their Achilles? Listen, no one's getting hurt right now just jogging down the court, chucking up threes. But if you're getting barreled down, like if Joel Embiid's in the paint going up against, say somebody with the likes of Steph Curry, and he swats him and he jumps down on his ankle, and now we got an injury in the All-Star game. Hypothetical, but this stuff happens. Like we saw Carlton Fisk in the MLB All-Star game when this rule was implemented. Pete Rose took him out at home plate. His career was never the same. And we've seen Matt Harvey, plunk Robinson Cano in the knee. Stuff happens.
You can't live life scared, though. You can't live life scared. That's a part of sports. You're not going to not go in your car and drive because there's a risk of you getting an accident. That's part of life. You're taking that risk. If you're playing basketball, if you're getting paid millions of dollars, it's a risk. I could walk to the store and have less risk doing that instead of driving, but that's the risk I take.
The risk is that you're getting somewhere faster in a car, but I get that risk if you're going to say, all right, that's why you don't do so much load management. You play 75 games a year. The risk is because you're an NBA player. You want your team to win. But what's the risk of playing the All-Star game? Just for like a meaningless, like it's a meaningless game. There would be no reason to play it. And if just because it's home court advantage, listen, it matters. I don't think anyone's going to tell you it doesn't matter. But why should somebody on the 8th seed, or not even the 8th seed, why should somebody on the 12th seed in the Western Conference care about home field advantage?
Do you know why, Declan? It's because these guys are all, they're, I mean, I don't want to say brothers, but like they all come from the same league. Like they all know each other. When you play against your friends, do you not go your hardest because you want to be the best amongst your friends? So I get Brandon's point. You're going to go out there and show your game, and you're going to want to try to be the best of the best. You don't think that guys are going to want to go out there and play against LeBron and, try to, dunk on LeBron or something? Like, these guys are going to go out there and give it their all. They're not just going to be all lackadaisical.
Jamal Womack, yeah, I'm calling you out. When I play you one-on-one, I'm going to look to beat the brakes off him, which I will. And does the game mean anything? No. It has to do with my ego and some pride. And when I beat the brakes off him, it's going to feel good. I don't need any reward from it. I just need to know that I was the dominant male on the court. That's all I'm asking for. And that's all I'm looking for at the end of the day. It's not about that. You know what I mean?
Wait, I have an idea of how to fix the All-Star game that I'm going to run by you guys. So what I used to do when I used to coach CYO basketball, yay me, what I used to do was I used to put the kids into groups of 3, right? So at one end of the floor, team 1 would go against team 2. Whoever made the basket would then go down to the other side of the court and play against team 3. Whoever gets the basket goes down to the other side. They would keep going back and forth, right? So let's hypothetically say we take, 3 teams of 3. We have 3 groups. So you got 9 times 3, that's 27 players. So you get 27 all-stars, right? So let's say you get, LeBron, KD, and Kyrie against Harden, Giannis, and Paul George, right? Wouldn't that be cool to see them go, 3-on-3 at one end of the floor, and then whoever gets the basket goes down to the other end of the floor and plays against Donovan Mitchell, Jokic, and I don't know, I'm just naming guys off the top of my head, Julius Randle or somebody, and they just go back and forth like the whole time. I think that would be something because now you can condense it into into a more of an open space game by only having 3-on-3. So it's not, your typical 5-on-5, and you're basically getting man-to-man matchups all over the floor, and you make the teams even. I think that would be nuts.
Too complicated. I'm out.
Wow. How boring are you? You're not even open-minded. But you even said it. You want to see the best go against the best. Do you not? You have your 27 All-Stars, which I think is around the number that you already have. And then you just group them into, teams of 3. It can't be that hard.
So Chuck proposed this question. Are fans overreacting during spring training games? I mean, I saw Aaron Judge say Gary Sanchez was an MVP, will be an AL MVP candidate because he had a few home runs in spring training. But Chuck, I'll start with you of what you really mean by this.
Every year, all these fans who barely watch the game and are only in it because they think they're, a social media, a king or something. They all go on, can't wait for spring training. Golly, yeah, like we're happy baseball's back, but it's spring training. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to be sitting in front of my TV all throughout spring training watching every inning of Yankees baseball. No. And just because guys go out there and maybe they throw 2 perfect innings or they get run for, 6-7 runs, I don't care. This is what spring training is for. Guys haven't played all winter, most of them, and now they come back. They're trying to work on mechanics, timing, going the other way, trying to get their, swings down and everything. We don't care. And just because Gary Sanchez is out here, hitting the ball, yes, it's nice to see, but don't go, Sanchez is back. He's going to hit 40 homers. He's going to be the best catcher in baseball. We had to lower expectations. Garrett Cole in his first start gave up like 2 runs to the Tigers. The Tigers are probably going to lose 100 games this year. Am I worried about Garrett Cole? No, absolutely not. Because this is what these guys do. They're not going to go on the mound and try to bring their ace stuff, right off the bat. They're trying to work on their off-speed pitches, their secondary. And fans over here, crying, Garrett Cole got roughed up. That means, he's going to have a bad year. Absolutely not. We see this every year. Like, these fans put so much into spring training. Spring training only means something for guys who are on the roster bubble, who are trying to make the fifth spot in the rotation, the final arm in the bullpen, the final bench bat. Like, those are the only things that I could get like invested to, and to the competitions. But for these other guys, who cares? Like Stanton comes up, he hits a home run. Okay, does that mean Stanton's going to go out and hit 40 and 110? Stanton could get hurt 2 weeks into the season like he does every year. I don't understand why there's so much emphasis on spring training. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, Chuck, I think you're totally right. Fans put way too much stock into spring training. I disagree with the one thing you said about it only mattering for, fringe roster players on the bubble, or fifth starting pitchers. Like, spring training is honestly all about just getting back into the rhythm. You want to see, like, listen, if Judge plays 3 games in spring training, no one's going to really complain. But you want to see guys get some at bats, kind of get back into the swing again. Spring training means more for anybody. Like, it doesn't mean more for anyone else besides a pitcher. Pitching is just about, like, listen, Brandon, you pitched. Chuck, I know you played. I know you played a bunch of sports. So you get the coming back from winter rust or whatever. Even if you're throwing pens, you want to get, as Brandon knocks down his mic, you want to get that. You want to get your rhythm down. You want to throw 20 pitch pens, 25 pitch pens, 40, 60. Then towards the end of spring training, you'll see guys go from going 2 innings, 3 innings in the first couple of weeks to, okay, now we're going 5 innings. 4 or 5 innings. You'll never see a guy go more than 5 in spring training. But that's just how it is. You want to see pitchers get into a rhythm and get back. I'll say it as a fan, and I can know a lot of players feel the same way. Spring training is cute once it's late February. You're like, oh, baseball's back. Here we go. Opening day's coming. Then March 15th comes, and you're just like, start the friggin' season already. It's getting old. I don't want to see Clint Frazier getting taken out in the 3rd inning, and I got to watch Jorge Saez play left field for the Yankees. I don't care. No disrespect to him, because if I was Jorge Saez, I'd be ecstatic right now. Is that even? Yeah, that's a real person. I don't know what position he plays. But listen, like guys on the Yankees, you're not going to watch towards the end of March. You're not going to watch unless you're really getting that excited for opening day where you want to do nothing else. Listen, play the show if that's the case. But yeah, that's where I stand. Spring training is cool. It's cute until it isn't. Let's start the season. And that's why I think people love like March 28th, opening days as opposed to like April 3rd. Not that it really matters, but that's my take essentially.
Nah, Declan hit the nail on the head. Spring training is, as long as it is, it's only for pitchers. It's only condition your arm back. It's going to take a while for their velo to come back. Your stills because pitchers are going to take a good 2 months off of throwing completely once the season ends. And then you're slowly getting back into it. You're having a catch at 60 feet. And then a few weeks later, you're at 120. You're back to long tossing again. And then you have the light pens. And then eventually, after you get more aggressive with your pens and you're throwing more of like max effort, then you're seeing live hitters. Then it's a live hitter for 1 inning. It's just a long process in terms of pitchers getting their arms back to try to keep them healthy. If it wasn't for pitchers, spring training would probably be 2 weeks. Hitters need a week or 2 to see live pitching and you're kind of back. Because every hitter's going to go through that early season slump when they're not used to seeing live pitching, their timing's off, this and that. But the games are nothing more than to get back in shape, especially for pitchers. So in terms of who looks good, who looks bad, it's honestly, if you're going to ask me, completely irrelevant. The game doesn't start until March 28th. Until the games start, I don't think you have anything to worry about. But is there any last thoughts that you guys have before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just have one thing about spring training. Listen, I think you're right with hitters. I think two, maybe 3 weeks. Every hitter's different in terms of how long it takes to get back, ready to go up north for regular season games. The one thing I'll say about spring training that does have an impact, if you see a pitcher that throws 93 in the fall and he's about 30 and now he's down to like 88, that's a little concerning, especially if you start to get towards, I would say mid-spring training. The injuries are always scary, and you see it every year. It usually happens with pitchers. I mean, we even saw Clint Frazier when he slammed into the wall and got a concussion. That was in spring training. So that's the number one thing is, making sure everyone stays healthy. But you will see, and it's unfortunate, like, okay, so-and-so needs Tommy John. I mean, we even saw the guy on, Valdez, the pitcher on the Astros against the Mets. He caught a ground ball, and as baseball players, we've all done this. You go for it with your glove, and you go to trap it with your throwing hand, and it clips your finger. The guy broke his finger. He might be out for the year. And that's stuff you don't want to see in spring training. That's all I got to say in terms of what spring training is right now.
I think we just gotta lower expectations. Listen, I like spring training in a way to a certain point. I like seeing the guys back. I like to watch them go out there do their thing. But I'm not gonna be putting all my eggs into a basket just because of what they're doing during the spring. But yes, Declan, you were right to a point where you want to see guys start to put it together, get their timing down, pitchers to throw a couple of scoreless innings, especially as we get closer to the season. But on March 9th, I'm not, jumping for joy because Sanchez just hit another homer. Like, I don't care. Let me know what he does on April 1st when the games matter and this team has World Series expectations. Corey Kluber, threw 2 innings or whatever the other day, scoreless innings. He looked pretty sharp, but I'm not, expecting him to go out there and have like a sub-2 ERA, and winning 20 games and being a Cy Young again. I think we just got to, lessen the load, let's relax a little bit and just focus on it. Like when the season begins, spring training school, it's like watching preseason in any sport. Teams are just out there just to get their timing down. And last year, teams, after the COVID break happened and they were getting ramped up to start the season in July, they only had like 2 weeks of spring training. So there's nothing to it, like you guys said. And lastly, contracts, I think that we discussed earlier with Dak, I think we're going to see that in the MLB now. Fernando Tatis Jr., got that big extension. What does that mean for the shortstop class next year with Lindor, Seager, Correa? Are they all going to want to reset the market too? So I think we got to keep an eye on that and how players are looking to keep on resetting the market.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up today. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to the Falco Takeaway. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Instagram and YouTube for more of my content. Declan, I know you got a new show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, if you want to shout that out quick.
My bold statement, I think the Mets will lock up Lindor before the season starts. But yeah, so our show is Smoke and Mirrors. It's hosted by myself, Greg Polius, and Stefan Polius, all from the Sports Hit List. It's on Mondays and Fridays at 1 o'clock from 2. At 2 o'clock on Fridays, we head to your show and do a little bait and switch and get up there right in time, back to back. So yeah, it's exciting. We got Chris Williamson of SNY coming on Friday. Should have a good show, and we're excited to keep the momentum going on the network, bro. But thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks again for tuning in. Always fun talking sports with you guys. Talk to you guys soon.